Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing podcast. And we were so thrilled to be honored last year in the top 100 of all podcasts for authors and publishers, and number 10, actually, number 5, I think it was, for book marketing podcast. So we're going to take a little twist today. And we're certainly talking about marketing because we have an ace marketer with us. But I always like to start with a little tip from one of my quotes from my book, Snappy, Sassy, Salty, Success for Authors and Writers. And it's just this: write juicy. Your readers will smack their lips with each morsel served before their eyes and their mind. And we have one of those morsel creators with us today. With us is Deb Armstrong. She is the author of a gazillion books. We'll get into some of those, but she writes spicy romance. She's a Canadian author, dairy farmer, and caffeine fiend. She's an avid reader and writer. She started writing romance when she turned the magic age of 50 and has written 6 books since then and is in progress with book number 7 and probably number 8 also. She uses her family and friends in her books because they give her the best storylines. Hey, Deb, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me. It's great to be here.
So what is the latest book title? Do we have the title or is it still work in progress?
It's Bates at the Beach. It's book 2 of the Game Changer series. And
Ba-
Bates was in book 1, but not the main character. And readers said, when's Bates going to have his story? So that's who I'm working with now, is Bates.
Great. So everyone, if you want to know more about Deb's books, you can find them on her website. She is, if you'll tell very quickly if you haven't already, she's from Canada, and it is Deborah Armstrong.ca. That will be her main website. With that said, so let's talk about just this writing. I thought it'd be a good idea for the beginning of the year to just kick off. How do we get started again? I know you participated recently in the November Big Write Month. How many words did you manage to get done?
Not as many as I planned. I think I only got
Hmm.
10,000 words.
Oh, okay. Not the 50,000.
Not to the
Okay.
50,000, but I did get I have to tell you that Bates is a very strong and silent type. He doesn't always speak to me, so I can only write when he's ready to tell me something. And so that's
Oh, 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 we need to talk about that. So, because I believe characters do talk to you, and tell you what to do and what not to do. I mean that and I experienced that when I worked with clients. All of a sudden, their clients' characters were waking me up at night. So, are you, do you outline everything or do you just kind of let it flow?
I let it flow. I'm a
Mhm,
pantser. I have
mhm,
an idea, but I don't write anything down. I don't have the post-it notes or the
mhm,
notebook with everything. I just have an idea of my characters and I let them tell the story to me.
mhm. I like that. Now, I do see sticky notes behind you.
Hmm.
So is that part of the writing process or is that something to do with the dairy farm?
Those are my marketing goals.
Marketing goals. All
Yeah.
right. Since 90% of what you need to do is marketing.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
reminder of everything I need to be working on. So
all right. I love that.
that's
All right.
it.
So do you ever get distracted when you're writing?
Constantly. I do research for my books and I am easily led down the rabbit hole.
Mhm.
I've been investigating constellations and YouTube videos on learning how to swim. And I just get lost. Anything my characters are doing, I have to research to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
Mhm. And so what does your research entail? I mean, what all do you have to do to
Um,
put that together?
well, if I give my characters a certain occupation, I better know what they're doing or how to do it. And if I've
Hmm.
got them in a certain location, I need to research that location. Um, boss was situated in Alberta, so I had to research the small towns there and see what they were like. And Bates is in a on a Caribbean resort, so I'm researching where he's
Well,
soaking up the sun. Well, I've actually been there, but
well, that seems totally reasonable to me.
yeah,
So let's see, how far is Alberta from where you live?
3-day drive.
Well, it's
I live
okay.
closer to Florida than I do to Alberta.
Wow. Well,
Hmm.
Canada is quite a broad country.
It is, yes.
All right. So you have a lot of research related. So I think, but let's talk about research a little bit. It's that certainly your Canadian system is different probably from the American system in some areas, but I suspect that we have commonality in what we can take as expenses during research.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're the same that way for expenses, yes. But terminology is different. In my first book, I had to decide whether I was writing in Canadian lingo or American because there are differences.
Yes, there
Um,
are.
First class flying versus executive class, changing rooms versus change rooms. Like there's a whole bunch of things that sofa versus couch. Uh,
Mhm.
the whole just there's so much out there that you have to make sure you get it right.
And so what direction did you choose
I I have used both.
in the
I
same book?
no, no.
Okay.
One book I used the Canadian terminology and somebody pointed out, oh, it's not American. So I decide when I'm writing it, but the book I'm writing right now, it's based in Canada. I'm using Canadian words.
Then I would be doing that.
Yeah.
So you get to add S's to towards and forwards and all those
Use.
things.
It's the use.
Yes, yes. So
Neighborhood.
it sounds good to me.
Color.
Right. So you know, you talked about the squirrel factor. I have the squirrel factor too, by the way. I can go off
Mhm.
in another direction. What's the most interesting rabbit hole you fell into when you got a misdirect?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was with my phone because sometimes I write on my phone. And I discovered my phone has an AI component where I can make a sketch, a doodle, and it will turn it into cartoons or
Mm,
3D pictures or watercolors. So
hmm
I was in that rabbit hole for a good half hour, and then I said, I have to stop doing this. I have to get back to writing. So I,
Well,
at least I
that's
acknowledge that I'm in the rabbit hole and it's time to get out.
that's what social media can do. See,
Yes.
I absolutely have a limitation on what I'm doing to do, and I'm always amazed. These people say, "Did you see this and that?" And no, no,
Well, I have to admit, I found a really good one today on TikTok that pulled me in.
fun. All right, is
Yes,
that something that's shareable?
it is. It's called Second Date, and it's a radio show that phones people, male or female, send in an email saying this person hasn't phoned me back after our first date. I want to know why. So the radio station phones and puts the person on the hook and wants to know about the first date, and they talk about it, and then they offer them a second chance at a date if they want to, and sometimes they say yes and sometimes they say no, and the person who sent the email is on the phone too, so it's quite funny for me anyway. I enjoy it.
Well, so that's just a dropout time. So, and I'm assuming you got another cup of coffee while you listened to it,
Yes.
watched it, and that. Right. So when you talked about your characters talking to you, um, I think it's really important to kind of probe into that because a lot of people think that's nuts. They don't. How can, it doesn't exist. What do you say to them?
um, you have to be willing to listen to them, and my listening time is when I go to bed at night.
Mm,
I've turned off the news. Everything is off. I'm lying there waiting to fall asleep, and I go through the scene I just wrote, and what will happen next. And they talk to me and they tell me, oh, and I just dream, I think about what should happen. And that's when sometimes the dialogue comes out and I say, yes, I hope I remember that for tomorrow. And I do remember what we discussed, and I put it down on my laptop the next day.
So I think you're unique, Deb, in that because most people say, "Oh, it was so great," and then I've forgotten it totally. So they literally go to bed sometimes with notepads.
Well, it's like trying to remember or memorize something. You just keep going over it a few different ways, and eventually something clicks and says, yes, that's the way it should happen. And so it's ingrained in my memory that that's the way we're going to have it. And
All right. Well, I'll buy that one totally. See,
it
that
works for me.
yeah,
It works
you
for
know,
me.
okay, so you're saying the magic thing. You have to find what works for you.
Mhm,
And it may not be work for me. I'm a sticky note girl. I mean, and I actually carry a couple of, like 3x5 uh notebooks in my purse. I will put them in my pocket when I'm out with a pen, just in case I see something.
mhm.
Um, Either the voyeur in me or my imagination all of a sudden drops something in, or I see something working or talking. We're going to take our quick first break, and I would love to have you talk about getting our ideas from observation. When you're in the Caribbean and having a lovely time, what are your eyes looking for, or what are your ears waiting for? We'll be right
Mhm.
back with that. Right, I'm Judith Briles. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing, and with me is Deborah Armstrong, multiple best-selling author on Amazon. Three, two, one. All right, so I kind of asked Deb when we took our break to what she do with her mental note taking with observation in her ears when she is doing her research. She mentioned earlier that she was 3 days away from the location of one of the novels she's working on Bates. And in the Caribbean, that's a few hour flight away, or ship
Mhm.
getting on that. So, Deb, do you ride on the ships when we're on them?
Uh, I try, yes. I do write on the cruise. I find I do a lot more writing on an airplane because I can't read on a plane. So I write when I'm flying.
Well, I think that's a great place. See, I like to get holed up. You can't talk to me. The phone's not ringing. I won't let it ring. I'm not going to use the computer. I'm staying off the internet. So, it's a cleanup time for me with that. So, when you are in that kind of research, I'm open, let the universe come to me, so to speak. What are your eyes kind of seeking out? Or are they just plain waiting for something to happen?
I am on the lookout for tattoos. I am fascinated,
Ooh.
and I look for really nice ones and really bad ones.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I actually on my last holiday, some of the people around me at the pool were looking at tattoos for me and were pointing them out. It was very interesting, and some of them were showing me their tattoos, and we got into discussions that way. But I look at tattoos. I look at what people are wearing because especially if I've got a beach scene or a pool scene, I have to be able to describe what they're wearing. So I look
Hmm.
for nice outfits. The restaurants are always good. You need to have a good location for a conversation to take place. So the setting
Hmm.
on the patio, the trees, the breeze, the waiters. Yeah, I go for everything.
So
Yeah.
it's what you hear, you overhear,
The
which sometimes
smells.
is amazing. I used to. Yeah, it makes me laugh when I think about it. In the old days, before we had mobile phones, I heard some of the most amazing conversations in the women's restroom,
Hmm.
where two girlfriends would go in and they'd continue their conversation and let it go. I mean, it was just that, and then cell phones came along and it became so one-sided. I mean, sometimes I just stay in that stall because I couldn't leave. I had to get the rest of the story. So one never knows
Mhm.
with that. All right. So you, one of your websites, and I would encourage all of you to go to Deb's website, deboraharmstrong.ca, because it's really it's slick, it's cool. She's got a great newsletter. Deb, I do want you to talk about, because that's part of your marketing tool, right?
Yes, yes, it
Okay.
is.
Yeah. So, to just kind of explore it, because she talks about her website shouts out the number of coffee cups that have passed through her hands. So, what number are we on now?
I'm over 21,000.
There you go, everyone. So, but a cup of coffee even got her a free car. So maybe she'll tell that story because it's very fun.
If you're
Have you
Canadian,
used
you
that
know Tim Hortons. So yeah,
Tim
I've
Hortons
got a Timmy's car.
at Timmy's car? So did you have you written that story in any of your books? Anything like that?
No, I haven't.
Well, why
I've
not?
written, I don't know. I've written other things from my life, but not running a Timmy's car. I will have to do that.
I mean, you've got a hospital scene, you've got these things going on,
Mhm.
you've got the magic cup that reveals you're the winner. I mean,
I know.
wow.
I know there you can add a lot of drama and tension waiting to find out if it's a real cup.
Were you thinking that as you drank it?
Well, you have to finish your cup of coffee first, and then you roll up the rim. And one side said Corolla, and then the other one said Corolla, and I didn't know if they both had to say it or what it had to say. So I had to go online to find out what the winning cup would say. And that's how I found out I won. But I was sitting in silence there for the longest time with my empty cup, wondering if I just won a car.
Oh, well, so was it a double Corolla or just any Corolla would do?
It's the Tim Hortons Corolla. So it was the sports car with the Tim Hortons red.
But you said when you did the roll up or down or whatever it is you're
Yeah,
doing,
it
it
just
had
says
two,
Corolla.
but you said it had two Corollas.
Well, because it was it had to say it on both sides. Or I didn't know if
Oh,
it did, but um it was a special promotion. So usually it's just
huh?
one roll up, but this cup had two.
Uh-huh.
It's just the way I
You,
don't it was so long, it was 11 years ago.
well, it's memorable. Well,
It
then,
is.
so now you can make sense. I
Yeah.
remember talking to an author and I said, Charlie, which parts are true in your book? And I knew some major parts were true, but which are really fiction? And he says everything's true except for the parts I made up. So that kind of left me dangling there
Well,
a
I
little
find it
bit.
the other way too. Sometimes you make it up and then it comes true in real life, so you never know.
Mm, well, that'll do it. So tell me about what kind of tools you would use to support your writing or your research or any of that. What kind of things aids come to the rescue?
Like you mean like a writing program?
It could be a writing program. It could be you have to have a certain computer. I know someone who writes all her stuff on the phone, which is always a pain getting some of that off.
There's a knack to it. I discovered it. So I do write on my phone if I
Mhm.
have nothing else, if I because I don't carry around post-it notes. I use a program called Dabble Writer. I use that for it's great for chapters. I use Pinterest for storyboards. If I am thinking of how I'm trying to imagine my characters and settings, I will visit my Pinterest and see what I can come up with. Or
And what anything else?
I read other authors just to see how they're putting their stories together. That's my research.
And some people are afraid to do that. That to it, they might be. and to influence them.
No, I think you need to write to read what other authors are putting out there, especially if it's in what you're interested in. Because
Hmm.
sometimes that's how I get my juice back. I say, oh, yeah, that's how they did it. Oh, that's a good way. I like that. Or,
Hmm.
yeah, you can write a scene like this without having X, Y,
Hmm.
and Z.
Hmm.
So, no,
Hmm.
it's great research.
All right. Any other aid that would help you? So we have Dabble.
Hmm.
Maybe you might want to tell our viewers and listeners what Dabble is.
It's a writing program, and it breaks it out. You can do it in scenes, chapters, just tidbits. You can plot your storyline, your characters. It offers everything. It gives you a word count. It has a timer. It's got all the bells and whistles. They keep adding new things to it, and it's easy to download to Word.
And does it cost money?
I'm converting it to I think it's maybe 199 maybe.
So is that a one-time fee or is that
What?
an annual fee?
No, it's a subscription. It's a yearly fee. But
You
for
do.
me, it's well worth it.
Well, it sounds like it. If anyone who is writing on there. So I always like to ask people who write. I mean, I watched you do a repurpose of your books,
Hmm.
a rebranding, actually, I think. You didn't change your stories. You just kind of did a rebranding
Well,
of how
you
they
helped
all
me
look.
with that.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I was thrilled, and to see how they're going on. And your books look like a family. I mean, you could go
Mhm.
in and I think what I like about your books, your series, you know that they all belong together. But the covers have enough variables that I truly know that it's a different book. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. I don't have, even though they're romance, I don't have the typical male torso or the couple. I use legs, and I worked with the
And feet.
amazing Rebecca Finkel, and we
Mhm.
came up with legs for my covers. So the legs show you what the story is about.
So, do we have any legs with tattoos?
No, we don't. No, not on the cover.
Well, maybe we should.
I have a book about tattoos, but no, none are showing.
Well, you started me down the path with tattoos. I'm thinking, gosh,
Well,
I'm,
maybe we'll give one to Bates.
it would belong on Bates. I mean, some of the ink I see on bodies is stunning to me.
It is.
First,
It is
yeah,
stunning.
first of all, I think, ow, 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 ow,
Oh,
ow, ow. Oh, what will that look like in about 50 years? I think I think about those things.
well, if I got one now, I wouldn't have to worry about it in 50 years, so that would be fine.
Oh, well, I didn't know you were thinking about it, but
Oh,
okay.
I'm not. I'm not.
But it seems to me if we're doing legs, I mean, there is some amazing leg art out there, or
Yes.
ink, as they call it,
Hmm.
that you seems to me somebody should have something.
Oh, it's usually a wolf. I see a lot of wolf heads on the backs of the legs.
On the back of the cat?
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's what I've seen
Hmm.
anyway. The wolf is very popular.
All right. So, in your own writing, that are you just focused on one book at a time, or are you multitasking?
I multitask. I write short stories for my first series, the Davina and Quinn series. I have short stories that come to mind, so I'll work on that when I can't. When Bates
Hmm.
doesn't talk to me for my novel, I go to the other one.
When he's gone to sleep on
Oh,
you?
he's the tall, dark, and handsome, and doesn't say much. And sometimes he doesn't say anything for a while. So I move on. I go to talkative characters.
Well, that works. Well, I know we're going to come up to our next break here in a couple of minutes, but I would love to have you start, and then we can spend more time. But I'm interested in tools you use for your marketing. Let's talk about your evolution of your newsletter. And also that and what you've done that's worked, as well as what you've done that you might take a pass on next time. And then I'm curious also about AI. Are you using it? Are you avoiding it? Are you suspicious of it? Um, does it get in your way? When I mean, every time I turn around, I have a new thing popping up about something AI on what other programs I'm on, and it's actually starting to drive me cuckoo. It's too much. But are you experiencing any of that?
I have used AI.
Hmm.
I've used it to write small blurbs when I can't think of it and I need a certain word or character count for social
Hmm.
media. I use AI for that. And then I tweak the AI because it's not always perfect, rarely
Well,
perfect, but
okay,
it
great.
helps me.
Okay, so we'll come back and kiss on that a little bit more. All right, everyone, with me is Deborah Armstrong. Our website is deborah.armstrong.ca for Canada. And we're talking about really writing and author success. It's a good way to start the year. We'll be right back. Three, two, one. All right. So I throw a whole bunch of stuff at Deborah with AI, with tips and tools that she uses maybe for marketing, what's worked and what's not worked, some of the evolutions that she's gone through. How many years have you been writing total out here?
I'd have to say 15. If I started when I was 50, 15.
Aha. Oh, now we know.
Do,
The
do.
magic. Yeah. All right, so you let's kiss on AI first. So you use it as kind of a gooser to get things going, and then
I
you come
use
back
it
and
as
do the tweaking.
well. I know it's not the same. AM Institute, I love for headers.
Oh yeah, AM Institute is
Yeah,
one everyone. That's a tool we recommend. And if you haven't visited, just go to aminstitute.com and click on headline analyzers and then just start testing and play around with it. If you're stuck with words, if it's not working with, because sometimes this is an adjective that will throw it way out
mhm.
and get it up there. If you're really feeling stuck, if you're not, aware of Hippo, I would certainly take advantage of that program to get a whole bunch of other words
Mhm.
that even the thesaurus doesn't play with you. So, we love Hippo
I love
on that.
Hippo too.
Yeah, I think it's a great, and guess what? It's so, and so, by the way, is AM Institute.
Yeah.
Is free. But again, with all these free programs, because everyone's monetizing them, what you do is need to be careful because you could click on the wrong thing and all of a sudden you're down, buying a case of wine and you didn't know it. So you want to be careful on that. So I always look for the X thing to X get rid of really quickly. All right. So, Deb, what's worked and what hasn't worked?
Sometimes I have giveaways to get people to sign up to my newsletter, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I found not my last one, I got over 100 new emails. The one before that, it should have worked, but it didn't. And I found Facebook was giving me roadblocks and saying that I couldn't post certain posts. I got locked. I'm no longer on LinkedIn. They kicked me out of LinkedIn. So sometimes my posts aren't correct, and I don't know what the problem is, but they're not fitting in the correct algorithm or whatever it is.
So
So
how do we get around that?
I don't know because I have tried with LinkedIn, and I can't. I've emailed almost every week asking to get, please let
Mhm.
me in.
Oh, and they're really a pill. I get
Yeah.
that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes giveaways work quite well and other times they don't. And it doesn't have to be the prize, what I'm giving away. Sometimes there's so many people that enter with that aren't interested and then they don't reply back. I've had lots of winners who don't email me back. So that's a failure on
I
their part too.
I had a situation where I just did. It was a very successful giveaway contest. I wanted to celebrate banned books. Love
Mhm.
banned book, and all of you, the contest thing, it might be a great way to add to your names, like Deb is talking, and you never know which one's going to work and which was not. But I thought banned books, there's going to be a lot of publicity in the author writing community world. And so I did a baker's dozen of banned books. And I went up and I just said there'll be a grand prize winner of of 13 banned books. And I randomly just picked some. One is I think Carrie Stephen King's was one of them. I had a Margaret Handmaid's Tale from Margaret Atwood. I mean, I had multiple. I had kids ones and that, but they were all banned books. And then I had five runner-ups with my book, The Author's Walk, and that I went out to all of them and I just said, you're a winner. I didn't tell them who was the grand prize winner, but I said you're one of the six winners, and I need to know how to contact you because I was mailing the books to them,
Mhm.
and I heard from four of them. It was four of them. I gave, yeah, four of them, and got that all taken. Two of them I never heard of. Now the grand prize, you know, and then I knew and we were there, but of course you're after it. But I thought it was a good thing to do, and it worked well. And we had about 1,500 entries on that. And so the question I have, Deb, do you when you do one of these contests, do you ask them to get more chances, go follow me on Facebook or join me on LinkedIn or any of that? You do that too.
Yeah, follow me everywhere if you can. Leave a comment. I can comment back. But I'm going to start asking for their cell phone number. Just saying, like, I really want to send you my prize. So please give me your cell phone number so I can contact you. And I'll never use it again. I promise.
Well, and I didn't ask for the cell phone number, and I wish I had.
And
So,
and when I'm mailing to the States, they ask for a mobile number or a contact phone number. So
but
I
I mean, I do that with my follow-up. So these people who do these goofy emails on all that, I'm just going to say, please don't enter the contest because if you're the winner, you're never going to get it because we won't be able to find you.
mhm.
I mean, that's the problem here. All right, so you've done how many contests for this kind of thing?
Oh gosh, 10 maybe?
That's a
I've done
lot.
lots. I've done lots. Yeah, lots of giveaways.
That is a lot.
I started with Goodreads when I first started publishing. I did one or two Goodread giveaways. And I did get reviews from that. And then I moved on giving away books, ebooks, various things. I gave away a light for an e-reader. It was really neat. It was really
Mhm.
neat. But yeah, you got to keep trying, seeing what pe readers want.
What will attract them, or
Hmm.
or they'll tell their friends,
Yeah.
uh, that. Now, I have to say, my more successful gathering, because this is all about everyone gathering emails. That's your gold mine.
Hmm.
It's gathering emails, so you build up hopefully a super fan list, and was not sending out books or anything. It was giving it just a laundry list of tips. I think one of the most successful ones I did was I created the alphabet soup for publishing. All
Mm.
the things you need to step by step. Here's how you get your ISBN. Here's how you do the LCC, and this is how you write an acknowledgement page. This is how you do this kind of things. That was huge. 1,800 people subscribed to download that.
And I admit I sign up for those too, because
Mhm,
as an author, I want to know more. So I will sign up for anyone's newsletter if they're giving away great information.
mhm. And you can always decide to unsign up.
Yeah.
Although, have you noticed that sometimes you unsubscribe and it just doesn't seem to work?
Yeah, it keeps on coming. Yes.
Yeah, it, it keeps on giving. and I don't want any more.
That's why I use one email for other people's newsletters and that, so that, or not news, well, the junk stuff, I'll
Well,
call it.
that's a good idea
Yeah.
with that. All right, so let's continue on with aids and tips. So you mentioned, we like Hippo, we like the headline analyzer. Anything else that's come across that is just stuck with you?
Well, I really I use Grammarly, but
Mhm.
I don't use it when I'm writing because I don't want it to stop me. So I turn off all the corrections and I put it back on when I'm doing a read through.
Well, that's good advice. So no corrections.
No
Turn,
corrections until
turn
I'm
off
ready.
corrections in the process. And Grammarly does have a cost,
Yes.
so so when we use the Hippo, there's none, and we have the headline analyzer with the AM Institute. That's a
Hmm.
freebie. We do, right?
Well, if you write
Anything
in
else?
Word, it's free too, isn't it? It will offer suggestions and corrections, but I don't like it as much.
Well, do you ever use Hemingway?
No, I'm familiar with it.
I like Hemingway, although getting things transferred back and forth is
Yeah.
more cumbersome from what I see
And
going
I
on.
did use fictional for one book.
And how did that work?
Uh, it was okay. It nothing to try again. It didn't encourage me to put another book through it.
That's a lot. Well, that's good to know
Yeah.
on that. All right. And then when you are, I'm looking, trying to stay, it's keeping the marketing module here on
It
that.
never ends.
I know it is true. It never ends on that. So you're most successful. Let's talk about tips that have worked in marketing. You've got to have a bunch.
Oh my. I'm thinking I enjoy Instagram. I do get uh with my blogs, I do get people responding to them and emailing me. I really like that. Facebook,
How do you let people know you have a new blog?
I send it out on my social media.
So do you also send it to your email list that it's there?
It does go out on I my blog goes through out through MailChimp, so anyone on
Hmm.
my mailing list will get it.
Hmm.
And then I also advertise it on my social media.
And so do you, oh, you know what? We're going to take our final break. I would love to ask you about advertising too, right? I want to come back and find out what you've done with that. All right. So it's Author You, your guide to book publishing podcast. I'm Judith Briles. With me is Deborah Armstrong, author of Spicy Romance and Cozy too. We'll be right back. Three, two, one. Okay. I left you warming you up. It's
Mm.
wintertime, people. And it's a spicy romance. But I was asking Deb if she had been using any advertising. And there's Amazon advertising, there is Facebook advertising. You could advertise on Twitter. I mean, I guess you can probably advertise everywhere. Is that not right, Deb? Or what have you done? And what haven't you done?
I had one try at Facebook advertising for one of my giveaways, and I don't think it did anything. The only advertising I do is for the when I'm promoting my free books, my free ebooks on Amazon, and that's the only time I really advertise and push out the books.
Mhm. When you are doing your promos on Amazon for the free ebook, that how many downloads would you expect?
I've had, I think, around 1,300, 1,500.
Mhm. And everyone, Amazon considers, even if it's free, they consider those sales. They count those as sales, with their register for ranking and things
Mhm.
on that. So you've only done one paid advertising. Is that what I heard?
That I can think of.
I was working with one of my clients today because his biggest following was on LinkedIn. So he says, let's check out LinkedIn ads. It was confusing and complicated.
Did like expensive? Well, how was the price on
Well,
LinkedIn?
it's not cheap. Yeah, it wasn't cheap, but it was just the forms were confusing.
Hmm.
To try to get through it, to place it, because I thought, because I have a lot of people on LinkedIn. I thought, gee, if I was going to advertise, that probably would be a good idea to go there. And I was watching, he was sharing his screen, and I'm watching, I'm going, well, this isn't fun.
It shouldn't be work.
No,
If you're handing over your money, it shouldn't be work.
no. So then we transitioned. The other advertising you might want to consider, all of you, is if your book's up on Amazon, there's certainly they have their own marketplace the AMS services. In fact, that's where they make most of their money. Just thought
Mm,
I'd share that with you. But that you can, they will help you with all keywords and keyword phrases. I mean, you can keep adding, 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 and put it out. It was interesting when we were on today, they were suggesting, we decided we would do this push. This is a fictional political novel that we do the push like for just 2 weeks over the holiday season last month, and it was like they wanted you to budget minimum of $12 a day, and this is like we're talking clicking
yeah,
through here.
yeah. Hmm.
So I'm waiting to see the full results, but that's what we thought we would try
Hmm.
on that. Now Deb, you have a book that has a Christmas kind of theme, at least the cover. Your
Yeah,
Boss
that's
book. So talk
Boss.
about Boss. Talk about Boss a little bit.
Boss, I really enjoyed Boss because I used the service dog as one of the heroes in the story.
Hmm.
And so I got to research on service dogs and training service dogs. So, but that wasn't a rabbit hole. That was a lot of fun. It's set in oh gosh, the name. It's in Alberta, wintertime, last chance romance. It's got a dog and a hero, and I just loved it. Coffee.
What's not to love?
It's got coffee, yeah. Uh, and
All right.
and it covers Christmas and Valentine's Day. So I cover both holidays in it.
All right. So you've got these themes in your books. When you're thinking about marketing, and Christmas is here with Boss,
Hmm.
or Valentine's Day, or you've got romance anyway. You can always bring it around Valentine's, and then you can lop it into June in the weddings. But the number one wedding day is New Year's Eve. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Well, you do now.
It's great
Okay.
for
So
taxes.
actually, I got married because of that.
Oh,
It was before year end. We had to do it before year
yeah,
end.
it counts. Do it.
Yeah, yeah, I need your losses. Right. So with that said, what would you do in a promotion, for example, around Valentine's? What kind of things would you be thinking of doing?
Oh, with Valentine's, you do hearts and chocolates and flowers. There are great posters available to promote a book, especially for Valentine's. Great posters through BookBrush for
Mhm.
Christmas.
Well, let's talk about
Yeah.
BookBrush for a
Yeah.
sec, because that's a tool I always recommend to people.
Hmm.
Mock-up shots. I recommend that tool to
Hmm.
people on it. So, and you use those both, do you
I
not?
do. I
How do
have,
you go ahead?
oh, I just said I have files just filled with mock-up shots and BookBrush posters. And the great
How
thing about BookBrush is you can change your book cover and the words, and it's really easy to use.
how do you compare and BookBrush, everyone, bookbrush.com, a platform designed for authors, period. It's author centric across the board and supporting books and things like that. How do you compare that with Canva?
Oh, they're similar, but they have their own place because BookBrush is just centered for book covers, book trailers, book book reels, but Canva you can use for anything. You can make reels, posters, but you can I Canva for me, it's attached to my social media schedule, so that's how I use Canva for making posters for that.
All right, so you mentioned posters. How often do you put posters out?
At least 3 times a day.
And they're different posters, is that
They're
correct?
different posters, yes.
How often do you repurpose anything? Or
I
do
re
you?
I repurpose days of the week if I see I haven't used one of my posters in a month or two, because if it's on Instagram, no one's going to remember. So I go back. I don't go back. I won't use something in the same month, but if it's 2 months, 3 months back, I'll use it again.
It's fast forward. So you don't need a huge inventory,
No,
really, but but you want them good looking
yeah,
and that. Now, you talk about reels. Is there and maybe we should describe to people what a reel is,
a reel's a very short video
right?
pushing the book cover. It's got a little scene that it puts out, or maybe nothing. Just it's
Mhm,
it's got everything, or music. I like it when it has music to it and the music suits the picture that's being
mhm.
shown.
So do you weave your stagnant, I'm just going to say the fixed poster, your fixed posters with a reel that's got maybe a little action, a little wiggle, a little shape, some music, something to it? Do you have a formula you use on if for every reel you'll have 10 posters or something like that?
I've never thought about it. I've got reels out every day because I've got them on TikTok and Instagram. And
Mhm.
then I have the posters on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm they're all over. And I have to admit, I have the help of my assistant who puts them together, helps me putting them together, and she gets them out there. And then I'll send her ones that I really like too.
Well, I think that one of the tips, tools for all of you, because Deb and I both use virtual assistants to help us. Sometimes it's for they create, sometimes they monitor and push out and keep track of things. But I couldn't operate without them.
Well, I
So,
know I couldn't make a reel.
yeah. You know what? I don't, okay, confession. I don't want to know how to do it. I just like them.
I just say, yeah, I like that, or that's the wrong book. We'll keep the reel, just change the book cover.
I can't believe it. We only have like 3 minutes left. But where where would you go? What advice would you give to a newbie author, newbie
Oh.
writer, author? What advice would you have?
If they have a story in mind, write
Mhm.
it. Don't I would say don't worry about the formulas. You'll find it when you edit if you have to get the right formula. And if you want to be successful, get on your social media and get your name known. Because I know so many authors who don't want to do social media or market, but I say you've got to start marketing. And I've learned this from you, but if you start marketing when your book is finished, you're not going to get anywhere very fast.
So, would you recommend then just we got to start the influence building from the get-go, even before your book is out?
Yes.
All right.
And
Now,
and I am a member of a few writing groups, and that
mhm,
has been a tremendous bonus too. So
good.
join writing groups.
So let me ask you one other thing before we do a little wrap here, because we're there. I'm getting the buzz now. That which of the platforms would you recommend they start on
Um,
for positioning?
I would say Instagram. If you're into TikTok, by all means, but I'm not really a TikToker, but Instagram,
We're doing them all. All right,
you know,
Deb Armstrong, thank you so much for being with us today.
thank you. I enjoyed it.
Great. I did too. All right, everyone. Have a great new year. I'm Judith Briles. It's Author You, Your Guide to Book Publishing, and we'll have much more for you starting next week. And that's a wrap, Ben.